I started making multiple selves, so releasing under different names for different aspects of genre. So I have LunaLight, who is the original, and then Luminova. And then I started doing affirmations, again, for my personal use. And then I started doing my meditations, which I do in my yoga class. And then I just went off the wall and started doing more. So then I had another self, and then I make another self. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? You can have lots of different selves and for different projects.
Welcome back to Second Verse, where we celebrate artists reclaiming their creative calling, even if life took them on a detour first. I'm your host, Becky Boyland, indie artist, producer, and guide for creatives who are stepping into their next chapter with heart, courage, and maybe a little chaos in the studio. Today, I'm joined by someone whose story I know is going to resonate, Sophie Bickerdike. Sophie began creating music out of pure necessity. During COVID, when her yoga studio needed calming tracks for classes, she sat down, experimented, and discovered an entirely new world of sound. That simple, practical step turned into a beautiful second verse of her own, one where she now creates meditation tracks, healing frequencies, white noise, and an entire ecosystem of musical selves, as she calls them. From her experimental sound design, yes, including a 1597 hertz buzzing tone that shouldn't work but somehow absolutely does, to her band with her friend Olivia, to her cinematic piano work and multiple artist identities, Sophie embodies the freedom that comes from embracing reinvention. If you've ever wondered whether it's too late to start or start again, or start sideways into a brand new genre, Sophie's story is a breath of fresh air because, as she puts it, talent is timeless. Just have a bash. Let's dive in. Welcome, Sophie. Thank you for being here today on Second Verse.
Thank you, Becky. It's such a privilege. Thank you very much for letting me come on.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're here. And I always love to start with what made you fall in love with music first? What's your early relationship to music?
I think just singing at school and all the musical theatre things at school. Jonah and the Whale, my favourite. And I've always loved singing in a choir. I've recently joined back in a choir. In fact, I should be at choir practice right now. I'm not. So just from a very early age, I just love that togetherness of singing and the feeling that you have when you're all singing together and you feel better after you've all sung. That frequency increase from music. Yeah.
I mean, we won't tell anybody that you skipped choir rehearsal.
No.
So your story, though, is super interesting about coming to music as a producer later on. And I'm sure that there's so much that's in between. So wherever you want to start of early ventures with music and then bring us to this point where we're at now.
Yeah. So over COVID, so that's 6 years ago? 6 years ago?
Yeah, surprisingly.
I went online and joined a songwriting course like a lot of people. And I've always played the piano and I wanted to work out how to put the piano onto my computer. I couldn't work that one out. So it took me about 2 years to work that out and get all the gear. And then I started writing, I'd say, normal songs. But at the same time, I was a yoga teacher. So I've got a yoga studio. So I started making relaxing music for my yoga studio for classes because I needed it for my yoga teaching. And the minute I started making it, it took me 10 minutes and everybody loved it. People started repeating the songs to their children to play at night. I was like, oh, but you didn't repeat me singing. You repeated the instrumentals. Maybe I should do those. So I just carried on and I've just found like loads of different ways to do my instrumentals, and I just feel it very freeing. And I'm slowly putting my voice back on, but treating my voice in a different way. But the whole genre of instrumental for me is like so calming. I have quite a lot of playlists, and I share playlists with other instrumentalists, and I'm listening to their music, and it's just so beautiful. And I love listening to piano, and I think it's almost more of an expressive way to be in music than with words. I think words can be actually quite limiting, whereas you can have so many more layers with the instrumentals. So I have come later to it, and I haven't got as many years ahead of me as I'd like, really, but I hope I've got lots of years, but I wish I'd learned this earlier. But now I'm releasing 4 or 5 tracks a week. I'm obsessed by it. In between working, between real working. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
And it feels like making up for lost time if you're putting out that amount of music in such a short amount of time. It's amazing. And of course, starting even at this point or fairly recently, that at least now a year, 2, 3, 5, 10 down the road, you're not saying, oh, I wish I would have started then. And we do tend to have that feeling like, I wish I'd done this when I was in my 20s, but look at all the things that we bring to it now. And the very reason that you're doing it now is because of being born out of need and then actually turning into something that has grown beyond that and giving you such a passion for it. That's so exciting.
It's really strange that I keep making experimental things. Like I put this, I think it was 1597 frequency on, which sounds like a buzzing, like something's gone wrong, and put it over the top. And I find it strangely relaxing. And it's had loads of plays. So obviously it's like something, it just calms you down from that. It's like it's got this. It's like, I'll put it on and it's like not acceptable really to put something like that on a track. But actually it kind of works. So I love that experimental edge to it.
I love that.
I got the cat this morning and I was recording the cat on a blanket on my bed, just pulling with claws. I'm going to do something with that.
I love that. That is so cool. I think you would like, there's a plugin by XLN Audio called Life. Oh, and what it's designed to do is it has a companion mobile app. Although I think you can now do it directly within the computer as well, but you can record whatever's going on in your environment. And so essentially sampling. And then when you drop it into that software, it will create a rhythm or something out of it. And I had some audio of my beloved cat. She's passed now, but I had a wonderful audio of her purring. And I dropped that in, got this really cool kind of beat. And it's more rhythmic. And then all of a sudden it's like a, so it's very, very subtle. And I just threw that on one of the most recent songs that I was working on. And it's sort of like this little hidden secret for me. Like only I know it's there because it can't really be heard in the mix, but it can either be a prominent piece or it can be something like that where I'm just like, this is just my cute little inclusion of my cat's sound. But something like that might be something you would have a ball with trying to create.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah, really, really inventive. And you just never know what you're going to get. And you can kind of remix it and let it do its thing. So
I've made a note. I'm going to use that.
It's a fun one. It's very cool.
There's lots going on, isn't there? There's Suno allowing you to do absolutely anything. But the thing is, when I get on Suno, I get so confused, I go back to my door again. So it's like there's too much. It's like you've got too much. You can make too much. But I think you can use Suno as a tool to put your sounds in your head down on as well. But you can do that on like Ableton. You can do that on anything really, can't you?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that maybe seems daunting to people at first is that, oh, maybe I need to have this other smart tool to do all these things. And the reality is, as you were talking about with experimentation, just try stuff. And when you try it in a regular DAW and you know that you're controlling making these sounds, then there's just such a satisfaction of, I made this. And I love that feeling of, especially when I've just sketched out ideas in the DAW and then I'll save the file, I'll bounce out a little clip of it so I can go back and kind of listen to things later. But I'll go back and find things I haven't listened to for months. And I'm like, oh, wow, I made that. I don't even know how I made that. Can't wait to open that back up and play with it and see what else I can do. And just that sense of accomplishment and also sort of wonder, because sometimes we'll make something and not even remember how we did it. And it just serendipitously comes together and you have this great production.
I'm glad you said that, because I can't remember how I did most things. You go down a rabbit hole, don't you?
Yeah.
And then suddenly it sounds okay. And then you have to sort of like go back and remind yourself how you did that. Because
yeah,
it's like an endless journey, you know. And I love doing it. And it's so lovely to meet another girl who likes doing it. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. There are not a lot of us. There need to be more.
We need to multiply.
That's for sure.
Because you work on Ableton as well, don't you, Becky?
I do. I love it because there's just so much there. There's so much that can be done. And then some of its under the hood features are just so far beyond what I've used in other DAWs. And somebody may fight me on that, but it's just such high quality, especially with being able to warp and adjust audio. I haven't found anything like it.
It's really good. You are definitely way ahead of me with the production, but I'm just like watching and learning now. It's so nice to be able to do something I didn't know I was wanting to do until it suddenly appeared to me. It's really fun.
And I love that, just that concept of, I needed this, so I'm going to do this. And I had done something similar, except it wasn't my creative writing mode yet. I was making song mixes for a workout class that I was in. I wasn't teaching it. And I just went down the rabbit hole with it because it was so much fun. And I think that fed into my production later of, look at all the things that I can do and adjust and move this audio around and make things cohesive and make them work together. And there's something about working with what ends up being very long pieces, even though I'm not composing it, that makes the shorter pieces seem more achievable and really easy to get to. And so all of those things just fed into, yes, I can do this more. And it doesn't have to be something I overthink or get overwhelmed by, but I can be creative and just try something new and fresh and just see what happens, see what it wants to become.
I also started, I don't know whether you've done this, but I think you have. I also started making multiple selves. So releasing under different names for different aspects of genre.
Yeah.
So I have LunaLight, who is the original, and then Luminova, who does more, I would say, more wind sounds, more mixed sounds with different, bit weirder. She's a bit deeper and darker. And then I started doing affirmations, again, for my personal use. And then I started doing my meditations, which I do in my yoga classes. I put those on because I initially started with a pregnancy meditation for a pregnancy class. And then I just went off the wall and started doing more. So then I had another self, and then I make another self. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? You can have lots of different selves and for different projects. It becomes a project.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like how you call it selves. I think that's a really interesting way to do it. I've been thinking in terms of personas or artist projects, but it's such a great thing for, especially for an indie artist, whether it's going to be something that you aim to do full time or something you're doing on the side, being able to explore a lot of different styles without it seeming to your audience like, who is this? What are they doing? Yeah. And so there's a great value in being able to kind of drop things into individual buckets and be able to explore, just be an artist and be creative. And I think it also helps in determining your own process of what you want to create for this self, this persona. And it kind of gives us the guardrails to help us actually be more creative, because sometimes we actually do need those boundaries to make sure that these things all kind of fit together. But we also don't need to be stuck. And that's where having different projects can be very fulfilling and a lot of fun. And then a way to stretch and grow and try different things.
Yeah. It's like brilliant. It's brilliant when you always have to have an identity in the real world and a passport and everything. But then you can go into music world and you can be this person or that person or this person. That's fun. Yeah.
That's so cool. And I am finding that too, because I'm starting to work on a few different projects that are very different from things that I've done before. And I'm having to see what my voice can deliver and see what I can lean into and maybe sound or feel different. And it's incredibly freeing and a lot of fun, and also just empowering to realize I can bring this out of my voice. I can use this instrument in a different way, because I think especially with the voice, it's so complex, but we tend to flatten it to, it can only do this thing for me. And that's totally not true. We can develop.
So what music are you singing at the moment, Becky?
I've been working on some advertising targeted tracks that are really, what would be the right word? There's just some attitude and sass to them.
Ooh.
And I didn't know if I could go there, because I have had more of a folk background and a pop background and this acoustic cinematic pop rock that I tend to do the most. And I was a little intimidated. I stepped up to the mic and I was grateful I was recording myself. I wasn't in a studio with somebody else recording me. And I thought, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. So I did a couple passes and started to sort of feel it. And then I'm like, okay, let's get my hand motions and my body involved in this. And suddenly I thought, I can do that. And it was so much fun.
What was it for?
I'm starting to build a catalog for one of the projects, to have music that is upbeat, energetic, and something that would be really appropriate for various brands for advertising. And so it's still an artist project, but it's sort of like, here are things that you could use if you want to be able to advertise a new product. So this is all brand new. They're still in production, but I've at least laid down some vocal tracks and found a new me, I think.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
It's really fun. It's really fun.
The world is your lobster.
And it is a really great opportunity to just try something new. And I think it makes it even more exciting when you know that you can rotate amongst these different personas, because sometimes if we get stuck on a particular song or project, it's hard to move on to another similar one to kind of give yourself a palate cleanse or a refresh. But if you're moving into something completely different, then it just helps keep them all exciting and you keep wanting to come back for more. And I think that that's really helped my own creativity and energy of, I can go back and work on this one. And when I'm not sure if I need to do something else on this other track, I can leave it for a bit and then come back around to it. And then they all feel fresh. They all feel new, because I'm not oversaturating myself with the song, which I used to do a lot. I would work on it too long and then listen to it too much and then come back to it. And at that point, you're just kind of stuck. You don't know if it's done. You don't know how to do the thing that might be bothering you that you got to fix. And so it sort of takes away that joy, but that's a lot easier to avoid in almost a rotation sort of scenario. So that's been really great for me in the studio.
Yeah. Sounds like you're happy working in that way.
It's very good for my ADHD.
You've got ADHD. Or do you think you're just creative?
There's definitely an interconnection.
Yeah.
I've seen that quite a bit. I have been diagnosed within the last couple of years. So it wasn't something that I knew about growing up. It explained a lot of things to me, but it really was just a helpful answer of, oh, this is how I can foster my creativity. And this is how I can also be mindful of self-care. But I've met a lot of artists who also have told me that they have ADHD. And there's a lot of cohesion, I think, amongst that. And I think it's good for creatives and artists to know that neurodivergence is a feature, not a bug.
I kind of think you have to have a bit of ADHD, don't you? Because you've got to do so many different things. I mean, if you've got to wire a plug and stick a mic in and then come up with 12 different selves, you can't just be thinking in one direction, can you?
True. That's true.
And who's to say there's anything wrong with being ADHD? Maybe it's what we should be.
Yes, it is a terrible name for something that is really a difference much more than, a disorder. All of the aspects of the naming are very unfortunate. And it's also not an attention deficit. It's an attention abundance. There's all this great stuff to pay attention to. And so it can be overwhelming in a classical sense of thinking that we have to only focus in on this one thing or the other thing. Now, at the same time, it also lends itself very well to hyperfocus. And for me, music has always been a place where I could hyperfocus. So that's the good part. The challenge is cutting myself off before I'm exhausted by it. And so that's why I do tend to limit my sessions so that I can come back fresh and come back excited and can't wait to dive back in instead of like, oh, am I not done with this yet? So it's a lot of helpful information to understand about my tendencies so that I can set myself up for the fun and the joy and the productivity and all of the energy that's needed for it. And so that's why knowing that has helped me. But it also helps me to look back and realize, yeah, this is not new. This is the way that it's always been. And now I can just capitalize on it, make the most. And I think that helps me too when I talk with other artists and I recognize that a lot of us are in this same position. And I think that can be a great thing.
I think it's like a superpower.
It can be.
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm pretty neurodivergent with my genres, I guess. I've got like songs. I'm working with different producers. I work with a lovely pianist called Julia Thompson. And she sends me numerous tracks, and then I get the chance to check them and then edit whatever I like. And then just work with lots of lovely people to make different music. We're trying to make more chilled out lo-fi at the moment as well, which is nice. A bit chilled out lo-fi. And we've got a bit of radio play with that one. So that was amazing because that's something which is sort of totally new for us. And also in a little band with my little friend. We just do a bit of acoustic. So it's just really, at my age, being a mum of teenagers, I always obviously have to keep a low profile. So, the podcast can't go too viral for us because that would be embarrassing. But yeah, I just love this. I just like a really good naughty secret I've got. Becky, do you have children?
I do not.
You don't. That's lucky in a way that you don't have to hide it from them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anybody who's going to be directly embarrassed by what I'm doing with my music. And it's funny because when you do get into music later on, sometimes you do think, well, if I've been doing other things or a different type of music, what are they going to think about if I venture astray? If I venture into something that they don't expect. And so even if it's not children, there's always that thought of what is somebody else going to think? And then finally just coming into my own understanding of this is my music, this is my art, and it's okay. And if they don't understand it, I don't necessarily have to send it to them. They'll never know unless they look me up.
Well, they have accepted me, so that's great. Yeah, they're amazing. They're great kids. Yeah, very lucky.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure that if they don't recognize what you're doing now, they will be very proud of you once they realize what a cool thing this is. Yeah,
I think so. Definitely.
We'll be back with more after this break. Second Verse is sponsored by Attitude Creativity. Many indie music artists don't have a website that grows their audience and reflects who they are, so they get lost in the noise of streaming. Marketing and brand messaging with Attitude Creativity helps boost your brand and build a site that hits all the right notes. You want to be an artist who stands out from the crowd, and to do that, you need your music to be heard. If your website doesn't reflect who you are or make an impact, you feel like a singer who's been handed a pair of drumsticks instead of a mic. You deserve a website and brand messaging you can be proud of, and that doesn't take time away from your music. As an artist like you, I understand how overwhelming websites and marketing can be. And that's why, putting on my other creative hat, I put my decades of marketing and development experience to work for you. You'll no longer have to apologize for your website. You'll look and feel like a professional with a custom story branded website you can be proud of. And right now, you can get a head start with my free downloadable EPK blueprint and start building your electronic press kit to promote your music. Head to attitudecreativity.com/blueprint to get your copy. That's Attitude, ATTITUDE, creativity.com/blueprint. Second Verse is brought to you by Singing Straw. Oh, you caught me in the middle of a vocal warm-up. This is one of my favorite ways to wake up my vocal cords before a singing session or even a nice long conversation for the Second Verse podcast. It's the Singing Straw, a simple but powerful tool for straw phonation, a vocal technique that promotes healthy vocal cord closure and a gentle but mighty way to increase range and identify areas to work on. For me, it was key to regaining my voice after vocal cord paralysis. But you don't have to wait until a vocal injury to use it. In fact, I recommend that you don't. Make the Singing Straw part of your daily routine, and you'll be amazed what your voice can do. Check it out at secondversepod.com/singing straw. So with your band, are you performing live? Are all of these musical projects in the studio, or what does that look like for you?
Well, we've written a few songs together and we've got a gig in May. So we're working towards that at a local festival called Glabfest. So we've got a little gig there. So we're just working towards that at the moment. But it's always working, when you're in a little band, it's always working around working hours and finding time to rehearse together. We're both older women, so yeah, that's really exciting. You know, the more women I can work with, the better.
Yeah,
I do feel we're very much in the minority. Certainly when we're a bit techie as well, we kind of know how to wire a microphone.
Absolutely. It's somewhere around, and this would be a high estimate, 6% of credited producers are women.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's such a tiny, tiny number. And I do know, a few different female producers, but as you start to kind of build that connection with others, you forget that that's not the normal situation. And so, yeah, I want to see that change for sure, because there's just so much that we have to offer the music. And I know I'm not the only one who gets excited about new electronics. I probably get a little too excited about it, but I enjoy when I get some new gear.
It's very expensive as well, so to be really careful.
That's true.
But I will be looking up that XLN probably the minute we finish.
I think you'll find that to be a lot of fun. And what's great about, of course, going back to Ableton is that there's just so much that is creative and interesting that's built in already too. And I just want to see more of women's creativity get captured in the DAW and get out there into the world. I think that's just such an amazing thing, going back to the music that you created for your yoga studio and just out of that necessity. And I was listening to the track that you shared with me, and from my first listen on my laptop, it was so interesting the way that the sounds that you used and the way that it's put together, that it sounded like it was coming from tons of places outside of my laptop.
Wow, thank you.
I was like, where's the music coming from? It was so interesting. And so I can't wait to actually hear it on my studio monitors. And have such a difference, from my laptop. It's a good laptop though, so the sound quality is really good, but it was just fascinating in the way that it just seemed to jump out of the speakers. And that is something that's really powerful about using frequencies and the interplays and things like that, and what you can do with instrumentals, because I do love to dabble in my instrumentals as well. And there's so much that you can do that is filling all the places of the melodies, and where you would normally have vocals, you might just try something really different and unique. But I haven't dabbled yet into that more meditative space of music. I've thought a little bit about it. I've done a couple of tracks that I feel like would be more along those lines, but there's just something so powerful in having that type of music that's going to just support kind of rebuilding ourselves. We're under so much constant stress that this is a type of music that it's not just a matter of using something that's quiet and soft and gentle. That's called elevator music. There's a difference in doing something like this that is intended to really just tap into your mind and your energy levels and all of that. And I think that is just really a cool thing.
Oh, I agree. It's making the planet a little bit calmer.
Yeah.
In this mad world we live in. Yeah, thank you, Becky.
I was watching a recent interview with Yo-Yo Ma, and he was talking about, music is energy. And so this exchange of energy that is involved, I think sometimes we can get so bound up in the lyrics of music and forget that all the pieces have to go together. The sounds are as important, if not more important, depending on the purpose of the music. But you really can't separate the completed composition, whether it has vocals or not, whatever the instrumentation, you can't separate out that composition. And there's always something special about music. It's why it is so predominant in our life experience, whether we recognize that value or how it's being used or what we need. But it's an essential thing. It's such an important and powerful thing, because I don't think any of us, whether or not we've imagined a world without music, I don't think we want to live in a world without music.
No, music's very powerful. I don't know whether you've seen like the videos online of playing music through a speaker onto plates of sand. And how it makes different shapes depending on what type of music it is. So they've experimented putting like heavy metal music on, and obviously the sand looks a bit messy. And then they put like a waltz on, and it looks very organized. And then they put like some chilled out music, and again it looks very organized. And it seems that the music frequencies change the movement of the sand. But then they've also done that with water. So they changed the frequency of the sounds of the music to change the molecules in the water as well. So I think it's Dr. Masuro, but he's done some water experiments again with music. And they took some polluted water and they played classical music onto it and got some monks singing over it, and it cleaned the water. So I think if we are made of water and we play music onto our bodies, we're helping heal ourselves.
Wow. That's fascinating. I'll definitely have to check that out and see if I can get some links that I can drop in the show notes too. That would be amazing.
I'll look that up for you. Yeah.
That's awesome. I just love that. And it is something that I think a lot of times we don't imagine how much we need to get more music into our lives. And sometimes, especially as a producer, when you're focusing so much on making music and then listening to other things later on outside of the studio, I sometimes will have seasons where I'm not listening to enough music because I'm too focused in on what I'm making, and then maybe listening to podcasts. But listen to podcasts because these are important too. But yes, the music, which is obviously what we're here to talk about so much, is so powerful. And yeah, I'm kind of blown away by that story. So I can't wait to actually see those. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, totally. Oh, thank you, Becky.
So what are some of the projects that you have going forward? We've talked a little bit about that, but what can we expect in the next few months, maybe?
I'll be making lots more music with LunaLight. Probably going to do some more piano-based tracks at the moment because I'm quite into, obviously everybody's into Hans Zimmer, but I'm just going to try and make some more cinematic style piano tracks. I've got another project lined up with Julia Thompson, so that'll be releasing in the next month. And then I'll be playing festivals. So small things, but good things, joyful things.
That's really, really wonderful. And what are some of the challenges that you find coming to music at this point in life, even though all of these exciting ideas are happening?
I do get overwhelmed, which probably makes me think that I'm slightly like you. So I really have to write down what I'm going to do. So keeping my challenges small. So like I say, that's my challenge, is to keep my challenges small. I like to do things in batches. So I might just do 7 piano tracks and then I'll do 7 meditation tracks and then I'll do a project. So I'm trying to stick to my projects because obviously the choice is so massive in music. It's very easy to get distracted. And I am a completer finisher. I cannot leave something not finished and also not released properly. So it has to be released properly and backed up and promoted. So I have to then stop making music and focus on the promotion. Music promotion. So that's the challenge, is not to get overwhelmed, because at one point I think I had 38 tracks going at once. And I looked at myself. That was at the beginning. I was with my friend Alison. I said, look at my wall. I've got 38 songs going at once. And I had to finish them all. So I just had to stop saying yes to people and one at a time get rid of them. Completer finisher. Every musician has this problem, I think. Every musician. Too many projects.
It really then ends up being the hard drive graveyard of here's all of my stuff that hasn't gotten done. And I did a season and I found it actually really helpful. And I kind of want to go back to it a little bit for myself, of doing short ideas. And it works better for me from an instrumental standpoint, but creating a little idea, then walking away from it and coming back to it a couple days later and building that up. But what I found was I was getting some really cool ideas, but I was just creating this backlog of stuff. And that's not as helpful. And I'm definitely not going to finish all of those because some of them are almost more of an exercise just to kind of keep yourself making music. And I think there can be value in that. But for me, it's like, I got all this cool stuff. How much of this do I actually flesh out? And how much do I do that just for the sake of the benefit of finishing it? And which ones do I just say, no, that was just a little exercise that can go away? And the other problem with it too is you end up with hundreds of those on your hard drive and you just very quickly forget what it was. And that can be a pleasant surprise if you take the time to go back and listen and find something that, oh, that's amazing. That really should be a full song. But it could also just be a bunch of stuff that's just taking up space. So there's that balance. But I think that's that wisdom of, I love that you're doing things in projects and giving yourself, again, those confines of, I need to finish these and then move on to the next thing. And I think that there's a lot of value in doing that. So if you need the playtime essentially to kind of spark ideas, then the approach of creating these little concepts, these just tight little loops maybe, can be a useful tool.
That's a nice idea.
But then translating that to a project and actually getting it done and out the door is very healthy and very important, because it's too easy to get stuck in the mode of, as people would say, stuck in the loop. And I usually don't compose that way anyway, as far as just having a loop running. But it's something that if that becomes the only way of doing things, then you never get into arrangement and fleshing something out fully. And then you're not going to get a song if you can't really do that. So
also is quite a good discipline is to see if you can finish something in an hour.
yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great because, and it may depend on the genre and what it is, but if you can come up with a piece that feels complete within that time, and then if you want to give yourself another block of time and say, this is where I'm going to maybe put the icing on the cake. I'm going to add the things that are really going to maybe elevate this. But just having the concept fleshed out into a full composition, whether or not it needs a few more pieces, I think is really, really healthy, because it's sort of like when you write a song and you think about the pieces of a band. If you've got all the pieces in place, and of course it depends on the genre, but it doesn't depend on the genre, because no matter what you're in, you still need to have the bass frequencies. You still need to have a rhythm instrument. You still need to have your melodies, all of these different parts in place. Then that's your ensemble. If your ensemble is complete and you've completed the piece, then you can bring in the cowbell and the tambourine and whatever else you want to be the little extra pieces. But if you've got the core of it, you're 90% there, and that's huge.
Amazing. Yeah. I think the more you do, the faster you get, though, don't you? As well.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We tend to worry a song to death sometimes and overproduce it, overthink it, overwrite it. And sometimes when we hold it less preciously, we can actually just get it done. And then you get the repetitions in. It's just like any type of physical exercise. The more that you do it, the more efficient you get.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Food for thought, huh? Food for thought.
So for anybody who is thinking about, oh, is it too late for me? Can I do this thing that I've loved? Can I take on music later in life? What would be your advice?
Of course you can. Of course you can. Don't wait, just do. Just have a bash. There's so many ways to do it as well, aren't there? I mean, some people just go on courses. There's that Talent is Timeless place, isn't there, as well? I haven't been to them, but that's a good one. Because talent is timeless. I think it was for over 50s, and unfortunately now I can join. Initially I couldn't because I was far too young, but now I can join Talent is Timeless. And then there's so many things you can do. Just go online and find a little course, or find someone like Becky and me to help you. Great. Go for it.
Awesome. I love that. And it's absolutely true. There's never a too late time. And like I said earlier on, we bring so much more to the table with our life experience. And so that just changes and enhances what we can offer with our music. And it's absolutely worth it. And it doesn't have to be something that you're changing your whole life for to become your career, unless that's what you really want to do. And then do it. Step out and do it. But at the same time, it can just be a very important part alongside in your life. And then you can bless a lot of people with a lot of great sounds they've never heard before. And that's too important to just sit back and keep overthinking.
Yeah, do it. Just do it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So how can people keep up with your music and check it out and be a supporter?
I'm on Spotify under LunaLight and my name, Sophie Bickerdike, and other pseudonyms like Luminova, Sophia Bickerdike, and other bits. But LunaLight and Sophie are my two main selves. I've also created a little label for myself and my other friends' projects called LunaLightMusicLabel.com. And you can contact me there if you need me.
And we want to also shout out your Bandcamp, because that is another great way to support artists.
That's a very good point. Yes, and the Bandcamp. Thank you. We don't like Spotify.
Bandcamp is a great way to give artists more than 3/10 of a cent for every time you listen. So do be sure to check that out.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Good point, Becky.
And I'll have all of this in the show notes, and everyone will be able to check all of that out. Sophie, this has been so great to have you. And I'm so glad that we were able to do this.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you for having me. Take care.
What a beautiful conversation. I love how Sophie reminds us that creativity doesn't have to be linear, and it definitely doesn't have to fit inside one identity. Whether she's releasing tracks as LunaLight, Luminova, or simply as Sophie herself, she gives all of us permission to explore the full spectrum of who we are. A few moments I hope stay with you. First, her courage to begin later in life simply because she needed calming music for her students, and discovering a whole new creative world in the process. Next, her playful experimentation, from recording her cat clawing a blanket to weaving unexpected frequencies into her tracks. Then her reminder to keep challenges small, batch projects, and avoid overwhelm. Wisdom so many midlife indie artists need. And of course, her encouragement to anyone starting late. Of course you can. Don't wait. Just do. Your actionable step for this week is to choose one small project and take it to completion. Just one. Whether that's a 60-second idea in your DAW, a new meditation loop, or a verse-chorus demo. Finishing it rewires your identity as an artist who completes things. And that moment of completion creates momentum. And if Sophie's story encouraged you, inspired you, or nudged you closer to your own second verse, it would mean the world if you'd subscribe and leave a review. Your support helps this show reach more midlife artists stepping back into their creative calling. Now, settle in and let yourself relax for about 3 minutes. Here is Sophie's meditation track, 528 Hertz Manifest Miracles, Angelic Extended Mix.